All right, Chelsea,
Brian.
is this the last time that we're going to passionately say each other's name
I mean,
at the
I hope it's not, but
we're going to
I
find
don't
out.
know.
We're
Yeah,
I think we're kind of on time. You beat me today.
I did.
You were getting some stuff done, I think.
I did. I was far earlier than Brian to the point where if anyone remembers callback Easter egg for those loyal followers, I had to switch our order because it's a huge problem if Brian is on the opposite side of the screen to me. It just looks very wrong.
It does throw us all off. Well, this is the big one. This is the series finale, 24 of 24 shows, where uh, we're going to get a little real, and I do want to kind of preface, and again, for everybody that's, if you guys are going to listen to this or watch this later on or whatever, Chelsea and I, we have really nothing planned. Like, as with most of our shows, everything that you guys see, we plan it on camera the week before.
Hmm.
And tonight, really for the most part, I know some of you are like, oh, we know what's going to happen. And I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to be honest, I, I feel a little sick to my stomach, to be honest. Like, I'm a little anxious and nervous. We've got a couple things going on within our household, and I've got to travel tomorrow, so that's kind of on top of this. But this is not helping. I don't
I
I
mean,
don't feel really good, to be honest with you.
we've used this metaphor the whole time, the Love is Blind metaphor, where they make the decision at the altar. And I don't know when it started coming up, but I do remember, and I think we talked about this. Like, there's a thing with startups, with entrepreneurs, where like you basically propose. And so when you first, never seen Brian nervous, when you first brought this up to me, when I was telling my husband about it, he was like, "Oh, what did you and Brian talk about?" I was like, "Oh, he has this new venture idea and he proposed." And he was like, "Oh, because both of us have been founders and we just know what that means."
Yeah,
And he was like, "Oh," and I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "What are you going to say?" I was like, "Well, I already kind of said yes, but it's a trial period."
a little bit longer of a trial period than I thought. I think that you were kind of maybe. I don't think when I first, because I said 24 episodes right off the bat, and I don't think you really realized what 24 episodes was.
No, who was it who
I
calculated
think it was
it?
Julie, wasn't it?
I think we both got silent. Like there, you could like hear a pin drop when the chat popped up that said that's like 9 months or something. We were both like, "Oh shit."
And that's what, a show a week if it was going to be 9 months. But then we
Yep.
came up with the idea, and I think that's part of the brilliance of what we have, this project that we're working on. We formulated that, it works better for us if we do 2 episodes a week. I can already tell, like, I'm anxious. I can tell in my voice what I'm hearing. When we decided to go 2 shows a week, which is kind of crazy to go from not doing anything and
Mm-hmm.
barely knowing somebody, and then all of a sudden we're doing 2 live shows a week. But I thought, in terms of creating a show in what we were doing, and having one to where we plan things out and then we kind of review what we did the previous week, and then we have like a performance type show, I thought it worked out pretty good.
Yep. And to your point, that was entirely spontaneous, which was super cool. Like on episode one, that idea presented itself for the first time speaking live. And if I remember correctly, shaking in his boots, you can hear it in his voice.
I mean, I am anxious. I'm very anxious.
I feel like you're anxious because you're about to like give me bad news or something. But
No, look, you and I have been very honest with each other
mm-hmm.
in this whole process. And and people that are watching the show, you guys have seen probably 90% of our interaction has been saved for this here. Um, but Chelsea and I, we're very honest when, if we're not on this part here and we're kind of talking off camera and we do try to save things for the live show. We're very direct and very much uh, telling each other what we want, what we don't want.
Mm-hmm. I was looking back at clips, and we should, in this light, we should do a little. I'd love to do a little stroll down memory lane before we get too wild. See, look how cute and young and innocent. Also, please share how you made this because it's really cool.
Uh, our friend Anna, she's the smart home canner, and I kid around with her that whenever I talk about her on social media, I say she's kind of the weird one because she's always doing something just oddball, like she's uh, whittling a piece of wood into something that she's going to use for
It's so
pulling
badass.
oxen, and then she's melting like mercury in a bowl to make like a belt buckle on one thing, and then on another one she's like a master food preserver or whatever, and then she's going to like Renaissance fairs, and you're just like, what the hell is going on with this person?
But I definitely want to be her best friend.
Oh, I mean, she's so much fun. She was making fun of your little tiny hand holding the microphone there.
It's hysterical. That and somehow your body, I think, is smaller. I don't think that's your
Smaller?
profile. In the post, but
I'm a little heavier or something? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Jesus.
It's kind of like you're like, no. It's like they like shrunk the size of your body. They increased the size of mine, but then they made my hand teeny. Like it cracks me up. But for the most part, looking quickly, this is damn good.
Yeah, you can't really tell. I mean, okay, so this is if you were asking, and in those of you that are like, well, this kind of looks familiar, it's because this is the thumbnail images that we used for our very first episode. So this is Chelsea doing her thing, and then she had her hand out, and then I'm looking over at her, and then
That is my hand?
well, no, that's AI changing your hand that was out to holding a microphone.
Oh, okay.
So I'm using the new Photoshop AI. It's in beta mode, so people can sign up to use it to check it out.
They changed my tattoos.
Well,
it is cool. Look, they did.
They changed it around a little bit, but it's not like I'm dealing with a big budget. This isn't.
Oh, I'm not judging. I'm more
DreamWorks.
saying it's very interesting the artistic choices they made.
But I put our two photos up side by side, and you were wearing. We're not wearing suits and I don't know what it is that you're wearing. It gave you some kind of, what is that?
A cape. I mean, I'm a superhero bride, which I love. I'm wearing a black cape and a sweetheart neckline. And if anyone knows me, and I say this in a not offensive way, just hysterical, my boobs have never looked that good. So I'm loving this.
Let me move Amanda's comment so I can take a look at your AI generated boobs.
Brian's favorite kind, if anyone follows his interest in TikTok.
Look at that. Oh yeah, that's true. We're not talking about that on this episode, though.
Oh, we're going on all memories. Yeah,
is it free?
Share this.
It is. I guess technically it is, and it isn't. If you're an Adobe person and you pay for their subscription, you have access to sign up for the Adobe or for the Photoshop beta, and then if you're accepted, then you can just use the software to try it out. So that's what you're doing. So that's what everybody's using it, so that Adobe can figure out, hey, is this working for us or not, before they do a mass release of it.
And because Allison asked if it's a wedding dress, which it is, but I'm curious, like, what did you input into the software to get this out?
So this is the cool thing. So you and I've talked about before, we're very much almost like a couple coming together, moving in together. And this whole season, it's, we've had the communication back and forth, and it's very much like Love is Blind that we went through an entire episode on, to where you're just like, are they going to get married at the end of the show? And so I thought, okay, for this last thumbnail that we're going to do for our show here, I want it to be a wedding themed. So I just basically highlighted myself first, and I said, put on. They give you a little text box, and then you can tell it. I think I said something like a wedding suit. So I forget the sentence I used, but I said change it to a wedding suit because I just had like a t-shirt on like I normally wear, and I probably had jeans or shorts on. And so I just highlight around myself, tell it what I wanted, and it changed it to that suit. And I said, okay, that
Mm-hmm.
looks somewhat realistic. So
Totally
I'll go with
does.
that. So then I was like, okay, so what can I put Chelsea in? And I said something about a wedding ball gown something.
Wait, what else did you say like ball gown cape?
And so what it does, it gives you three options that you can toggle through. And I just picked the third option, which just looked the most
Love it.
realistic.
Love it.
And I was like, okay. And then I was like, okay, we're going somewhere. And again, I was doing this in like 10 minutes today. And
Mm-hmm.
people that know how to really use this program, it's absolutely fascinating what they can do with it. So then I selected you and I as the subject, and then I inversed it. So then it no longer it selected everything but you and I, and then I said put us in a wedding venue. And so it gave me three different options, and I clicked the one that looked the most accurate, that doesn't look like it was super photoshopped or whatever. And then the other thing I did was just change your hand, which was just kind of doing this before. And I said,
Mm-hmm.
holding a podcast mic. And this was the most realistic hand arm that they gave me. And I was like, I'm going to go with it. I mean, it's kind of
Love it.
funny.
Oh, I think it's great. I saw it and thought it was amazing. And then also seeing, which we've already published it now, but seeing the clip Julie did, I got nostalgic. If anyone saw the last episode, I had certain thoughts coming into this, but I will say I've been feeling the nostalgia.
And was that not sweet of Julie, though, to do that video? I mean, she sent it out of nowhere. Like, I don't even remember where I was. And she's like, hey, I did a video for you and
I
Chelsea. And I
know.
looked at it and I was like, I think it was something similar to what Chelsea wanted me to do. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to have time to do it this week. And then Julie, just out of the blue, can we just award her? It's going to upset a lot of people. Can she just be fan of the show
I mean,
for the
I'll
year?
give it to her. That was the best video. I actually got like emotional. I'm not even kidding. I loved it. It was so cute. Wait, I want to keep.
Julie, if you're if that's another fat joke, so because Chelsea was making fun of me that
I'm
oh,
not
you're
saying
the
fat.
AI slim Brian down quite a bit.
No, it's more your shoulders, which seems strange. They
No.
it's like a Lego. They like made you small.
So I like my body in the AI version. I think I'm just gonna do all AI Brian from here on out for all my content.
Hey, I'd go for that rack any day. Let's do it.
So I mean, now that you've mentioned it, I think we should have been doing this early on.
Yeah. I mean, that's the best version of
That
myself.
looks really good. I don't think is Amanda saying she doesn't like your rack?
No, she likes me natural. That's what it is.
Well, take a good look.
It's
just
so
see.
great. Wait, I want to do memory lane, and I am curious. Do you have this list up?
The graphic that you made?
Yeah, or do you have a different way we can look at
No,
it?
I haven't. Just takes me a little bit.
Because you mentioned something that made me giggle. You said these are some of our favorites. I think these are our content episodes.
Well,
Are they not? Did I miss one? Because I did miss one initially. I want you to guess the one I missed. So I built this whole thing and was missing one and had to rebuild it.
well, let's address this a little bit, and I guess that Chelsea's kind of forgetting some things over the course of our time
What do you-
together.
I don't think I'm missing anything. I note production episodes plural.
You're referring to some things that we've recorded that aren't out there yet.
Well, obviously I can't publish that.
Well, I know, but that's why I had to be careful in what I was saying, because there's
No.
something specific that I enjoyed recording with you that it's not out there for public consumption just yet.
Of course. I mean, you can't release all the Easter eggs at once. What's the point? But I mean, of this list, I think this is our all of our published content episodes. But one on this list I missed and had to go back and add it. I'm curious which you think I forgot about.
That you missed?
Yeah, so on this whole list that I think is all of our published content episodes, tell me if I'm missing one. There's one on here that I forgot about and I had to go back and add. So initially I had to set up as how many is it?
You probably
7.
forgot about building the studio.
Do you know why?
Because you don't think about it?
Because you didn't publish any clips about it.
Really?
Nope, none. You only published the production episode after.
Huh.
I know.
So are we going to talk just briefly about doing a show together before we get into our decision? Because I do want to compare
I wanted to
some
go down
notes.
like memory lane of our shows. That's why I
Yeah.
wanted to pull this up, right?
But to address what you just said, that's part of it's hard to keep track of on a week-to-week basis when you're creating content, you're recording content, and it's one of, let's say, a couple different accounts that you have. And I'm sure, Amanda probably creates a ton of content as well for the different channels that she's on, as far as, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. You get confused as to what video was I working on, or at least I do.
Yeah.
And there's just some weeks to where it's just like I get super frustrated with the setup that I have in editing, that it's not fun. Editing should be fun for me. I love going through our stuff, and when it works well on my laptop, I'm laughing, cracking myself up. I'm like, oh my God, Chelsea and I are the most brilliant two people in this world. But it's 50-50, because it really, if you're not set up with the proper tools, and no matter what you do, and this could be tools in whatever job or whatever thing that you're involved with in life. If you don't have the right tools, it sucks.
Yeah. No, totally. I'm mostly pulling your leg. I thought it was maybe because you were like, that wasn't the best episode, so I didn't publish content on it.
I love that episode. So before we get into going over some details and stuff, I'm curious now that we're at the tail end of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what our show is about?
I keep calling it the tail end, so definitive. I rewatched, because I rewatched a lot today. I'm telling y'all, very nostalgic. I'm a very different person than you spoke to last week. But I rewatched our first episode, and the first opening thing we discussed was how neither of us knew the plot of Zach and Miri Make a Porno.
Right.
But my husband said, oh, great, sounds like Seinfeld, a show about nothing. And so my first reaction to that question was like, it did kind of become a show about nothing. I would switch it to, it felt more like a variety show. Like in terms of what the show is about, it's just our takes on like a variety of things. That's my summary.
I mean, fair enough.
What would you say?
That technically is correct, in that it was kind of a variety show. I went a little more meta, in a sense that it's essentially two strangers just coming together, throwing ideas around and trying to make a show in 24 episodes.
Yeah.
And I think, doing the studio setup episode, I thought that was great, because there's only one episode that I was like, that was a tough one.
Which one?
But the studio one, I was like, you have to go, if that's the premise of our show, was two people coming together trying to come up with a podcast show and doing ideas and everything, you have to talk about the studio, and especially when you didn't have one kind of set up.
I mean, if anyone can remember how I was before versus how I look now, I think this is pretty good. I use this setup every single day.
So yeah, So I think it is. Yeah, it's a variety show, but I think for me, it was more of a kind of behind the scenes of watching two people try to come up with a show.
So I'm curious. I don't disagree with you, but Allison brought up trying to figure out the theme. How do you what's how do you differentiate trying to come up with a show versus theme?
Yeah, I that's a good question.
And we'll hide this for now. We'll come back to it.
Every person that came to me confused as to what the fuck we were doing and what it was called, and is this tossing salad or is this Brian and Chelsea make a pot? What is it that you're doing? And I had a hard time in trying to package that up into something that makes sense to other people.
Mm-hmm.
To me, in my head, I kind of knew what I wanted to do. I thought we were kind of on the same page, and I was kind of hoping, well, you do a much better job of taking the stuff that's in our head and making it into something people can kind of understand. Um, and I do think going if we go forward, um, then I think we're ready to better clearly define what our show is. Just to make it to where if it's people that don't know us, they know kind of what our show's about.
Mm-hmm.
Because this was hard to let people know if they didn't know who we were.
What I love, and I get what you're saying, but you also just said nothing, which is awesome. You were like, we're trying to figure out the show, and if people know, they know, and if they don't know, they don't know, and we'll see if we go forward what it is.
But that's my struggle, and that's why
I
having
know.
you here as a co-host and then going forward, if we decide to do something, I that's where I need the help. I know where my shortcomings are in
Mm-hmm.
doing something like this with somebody, and I'm all about saying fuck it, let's try to do something and let's go. We'll figure it out as we go. I'm
Yep.
great at that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're kind of just maybe a little bit different in a sense that you really can kind of get down when we've had some planning kind of meetings or whatever, and then you get your little what's that one app called? Uh,
Miro.
Miro, and then you're organizing it, and then I think you're better at doing that. So I think that's where we come together really well in the management side of creating a show.
Yep.
But
I
I
will say to your analysis of me, I'm curious. You know a little. What I'm not sure how much you know. It is painful not having a plan in a good way. Like I knew coming into this, the point was like, do it live, right?
Mhm.
And I'm resisting every urge. But it's a good exercise. Like I used to, my biggest strife with my last co-founder of my company was in regards to this topic because she was like so loosey goosey. Honestly, I think it's what ran us into the ground. So that's a whole thing. Um, and then even the current venture I'm in the middle of starting with co-founders, that was the conversation we were having today. And I left the call with them and I was like, I don't know what next steps are. I have no idea how to progress us forward. And it pisses me off at my core. And so I'm trying to learn. So I've taken this as an experience of like, I can be more relaxed. I can be more casual. It's not directly tied to my income and see if I can be more creative and more go with the flow and not need to set like a clear mission, vision, purpose, value statement.
see. I think we were aligned enough to do the shows, um, but I'm more of the struggle that we're and what we're talking about now, trying to hammer this stuff out. That is the content that I wanted our show to be. So I know that sounds confusing, and you said, just now you're like, well, I didn't really say anything, but that's all part of what I wanted the content of our stuff to be, is watching us at least for one of the
Yeah.
2 episodes a week to show people this is what you have to do and hammer stuff out to do
Oh,
a
yeah.
show.
And I think we did that. It was more like in benefit of my own growth. Like I recognize that like you don't always have to have a plan. And especially socially, people will be like, we don't need a plan, Chelsea. We're having fun. Like, are we? Is it fun without a plan? And so anytime I can take a moment where I don't need a plan and I can just like let go and be a little bit less of myself, I think is a benefit. So I've appreciated that. I do agree every second episode we were planning.
Mhm.
But again, it was never super strict. Like it was exactly what Elise just said, figuring it out while we're recording, but I think very much figuring it out live, which is cool, as opposed to, I know we've said this like 6 times, but we did not talk outside of filming this show.
Right. And there's drawbacks to that, but that's what I wanted for the show, and I guess I just didn't clearly communicate that to Chelsea.
No,
I'm
you
not saying
did.
that
You
Chelsea
did.
didn't quite understand, but I still think that we're on slightly different what we wanted the show to kind of be, or maybe what bugged us or something. And I'm just saying that's what I struggled with when people were asking, what the hell are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Now
You struggle because you don't have an answer, or you struggle because they ask, or something
I struggle
else?
because I don't know how to answer it.
Mm.
So, and I think that's just part of the wiring in my head. I clearly understand what is good content. And every one of our shows, with the exception of probably one of them, I thought was, no matter if it looked like a disaster or whatever, I know you and I were having fun
Yes.
doing it. But I have a hard time in trying to explain that. It's almost like trying to explain my sense of humor to a lot of people. Either you get me or you don't. And I think that's why I have issues with having like friends in life, because a lot of people don't quite understand what I find funny.
Mm.
So
I love though that you're connecting it to good content. Like I agree, I had fun. I think it was clear you were having fun. I think people in the audience, like our tight group, were having fun. But to me, I don't correlate that to knowing it's good content. So I think that's like a cool confidence. Like you said, I know it's good content. And I'm
well,
like, oh,
the key thing for me, and I think for you, is number one, we have to have fun while we're doing it, or else you're way too busy to fuck around with this.
you're busy
And
too.
here's how I know. Again, what Amanda makes fun of me because I'm always like, I only knew Chelsea for 8 months. We were strangers, and then here we are. But literally, I know from what I've picked up from Chelsea, just dealing with her for the last 8 months, is that you had fun 99% of the time, anytime we had the cameras recording. How do
Yeah.
I know that? And I'm not just saying that, and you're not just saying yes. I know that you did, because you wouldn't spend as much time in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
When we first started doing stuff prior to naming it Brian and Chelsea Make a Podcast, when we were just kind of messing around on camera.
Mm-hmm.
What? That sounds so bad. Don't clip that one out, because that sounds really bad. But when we were just like watching lives on TikTok for 3.5 hours, trust me, you guys, Chelsea would not do that if she wasn't having fun
No.
for 3.5 hours, much less 30 minutes.
Yeah, no. I'm very confrontational and I'm very direct. So you can just know like whatever I'm giving you is authentic. Totally. It's definitely fun for me. But you correlate it to like good content in general, which is really cool.
I do, because I think I have a pretty good. I know what good. I'm gonna sound like an idiot, but I know what good content is that I like.
You
And so
sound confident. I love it.
I wouldn't have done any of this if I thought that all of this sucked or it wasn't really good. And I'm able to separate myself from, well, we've only got so many people watching, or there's only so many people giving us views on this, whatever. I know absolutely that there are a ton of people out there that would enjoy and find this type of stuff fun and funny. It's just a matter of getting out there and for them to find us.
Mm.
So it's a long-term deal, which again, you and I talked about this in the last episode on some pros and cons of doing it or not doing it.
Yep.
And it can't just be a 24 episode and then we're like, oh, this was successful or not.
Mm-hmm.
It's a long-term process. But
Nope.
I've learned quite a bit about you. There's still a lot of things I'm just like, I don't know about Chelsea. And there's still some things that I go back to when we first started kind of talking to each other. Chelsea still kind of intimidates me a little bit when we get into discussions about certain things, to where, not when they get like serious discussions, but when you're talking to a relatively intelligent person. We all know the people that we interact with on a daily basis, right? And you make a determination pretty quick whether you're dealing with somebody that you're just like, okay, they've got mental capacity for doing things or not.
They don't all win Dirty Minds.
Well, but with Chelsea, I'm always like, I feel like I got to make sure all my I's and T's are addressed, and am I making sense? And I feel like, not necessarily like I'm in a debate or anything, and that's not what I'm trying to say, but I'm like, there's value in dealing with somebody like Chelsea. So,
Thank you.
but there's also something to where there's intimidation for me, which I think that's why there's issues with strong women in general, that a lot of guys cannot handle that.
No.
Because they have to be the smartest one of the two. I'm talking like when you couple off or whatever, when you're dating somebody.
No, even when you try to be friends with someone, this applies to everything.
Yeah. And most of the time, and I'm being very general here, and I can hear Chelsea even on one side of my shoulder saying, "Well, you're generalizing." Like, no, yes, I am.
I'm
like,
loving it. It's my life experience.
You can't be more funnier than I am.
Mm.
So I always feel like I've got to be kind of on the ball when I'm dealing with Chelsea. But then there's times to where we're just having so much fun, and then it's 3.5 hours later, and then we're like, we have to get off.
I know. Those are my favorite. I will say, when it's just like flowing. It's hard. So I appreciate that you said there's like value to working with me so much, because I've heard a lot of the things you're saying most of my career or life. I say career, life, like existing in the world. Yeah, things are getting real. This was in reference to our webcam parties, but the challenge is it's normally followed up with like, so I don't want to deal with it, which is just really hard. Because I also, you say, you're right, I don't waste my time, or I won't waste my time. And so if I feel like I'm being performative with someone, I can't. Like, if I feel like I have to be on the ball, I just can't do it.
Like, I don't even know what fucking performative means. This is what I'm talking about. So like, Chelsea will throw out words, and I'm like, oh my God. When do I deal with people to where I don't understand words? I don't know what performative means. Performative sounds like when we're performing something.
Yeah.
I swear to God.
If I'm performing, I'm not having fun. So I don't like.
You're faking.
Yeah. So I get paid to perform. So for an exercise like this, if I felt like I had to be performative, I probably wouldn't have done it.
Well, I guess I kind of knew what that was.
So you know what it means.
But there's plenty of other times you've used certain words where I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to look like I don't know.
No, always ask, because I also could be wrong. But additionally, I try to use vocabulary that's just like widely acceptable, because I think that it just leads to better speaking and communication. So every time you say that, I'm always like, oh, mental note.
So now that I've said such great things about you,
it's my turn.
This is your turn to turn it around.
Okay.
Be honest. Give the breakdown of Brian from your perspective of working with me.
Okay. And I do want to get into the details. I'm using my strength, staying on time, because your computer will crash. So we have to get to the episodes next.
True. Yeah.
But working with Brian, I've said this like a million times. Y'all, I don't do anything on this. Like, all of the graphics, clips, color schemes, logos, editing, technology. Okay, I built this. Come on. I've built 2 graphics. We've had 24 episodes. It's wild to me. So like, you have basically rolled out a red carpet for like, hey, want to do this cool podcast with me? All you have to do is show up. You're probably not even going to show up on time, and I won't even be that mad at you. But that's all you have to do.
I didn't mention that when I was talking about it. Okay.
I know. But like, I've loved it. So like, for me, I just get to show up and have fun. Like I know that like I'm supposed to be hosting and you'll talk about like my role in this, but I'm always like I'm not quite sure what my role is, but thank you for making me feel good. Cuz I just stand here and follow your flow and have fun. Like you know what you're doing. You
I
set it all up. If anyone has the opportunity to do a podcast with Brian, especially if you've been like I'm not sure, I don't know if I want to do a podcast, easiest person in the world to do any live recordings with.
Yeah, I see. Okay, so now I think now you're being performative
I
on that.
swear to God, I'm not.
There's
I've
no
talked to
okay.
people about
So
this.
this is okay. So yes, we're on a time crunch, but I want you.
Brian can't take
You
a
know,
compliment.
no, I can, but I am very hard to work with, and I know if somebody, let's say if you were,
No.
hold on, let's say if you were, uh, let's just say things happen to where okay, I'm doing a show with somebody else down the road. We all
Mhm.
still kind of remain friendly, and then
Are we
this
just not
person
friends
comes to
after this?
you. Well, I don't know.
Wow. Okay, so we know what this decision is for
And,
Brian.
and they come to you and they say, "Oh my God, Brian's kind of a pill." Which there's so many people in my life. They're like, Brian's very difficult to be friends with, to be married with.
I mean, we don't have that relationship
I'm a
fully, but
difficult person to kind of deal with,
I'm gonna
and I think
disagree.
you've seen that,
No,
and I think you would know how to.
nope. You know exactly your strengths. You'll even communicate like, "Hey, I don't keep these to a good agenda. I don't keep these on time. I don't remember all the different topics we need to cover. Um, I'm not going to follow up with you. Like you've told me all of those things." And I'm like, "Great. Thank you. Perfect. I will just follow that manual on how to work well with you. Chelsea, keep agenda. Chelsea, keep it on time. Chelsea, follow up. And everything occurs fine. You gave me a playbook and I can follow playbooks." I totally disagree. And you do all this pretty stuff. I know you always say, like, we're both hosting, we're both doing the podcast. I'm just like the face on the screen, which I like. Thank you.
You're the boobs now too. I
I
mean, if we
know.
look at
Got that beautiful sweetheart neckline going on. And you know, you gave me that. So that was great. But no, seriously, you need to learn to take a compliment. We just talked about how I don't do that.
yes, but it's not. I don't think if anybody's getting into a project like this,
Mm-hmm.
it's not necessarily just all fun and games with a couple friends or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of business stuff kind of that goes on. I know you're like business stuff that nobody made any money, so there's no business stuff. But there's a lot of structure, and let's be kind of serious in what we've got to do.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what you bring to the table, what I bring to the table, or whatever. So you have to make sure that's a good matchup for somebody that you're working with.
Yeah. And generally, people who are like direct and honest and say what they're going to do and then do what they said they do, I work well with. So if that bothers someone, they wouldn't like that. But yeah, you did give me a baby hand. I'm okay with the baby hand. I like the dainty wrist.
The dainty little Barbie hand of
Yeah.
yours,
I think it made us look a little like Barbies, you know?
which is I thought kind of cool too. I mean, I wasn't going for something super like, is this realistic? It was more of what's Photoshop AI going to do with us?
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of cool.
We need to look at our episodes. I want
Okay.
to
I'm going to make
vote.
one more comment before I throw that up there. One more comment about you.
You
tell me
cannot
if I'm right or
avoid
wrong.
your compliment, though.
I'm not.
Okay.
I think when I get you on camera, you're having a great time.
Yeah, I do.
And then I think when you're not on camera, leading up to it, you're just like, I don't want to do this. Is that true or not?
So, what's hardest for me,
Yeah.
and this is just like being a mom, and I think people learn to deal with this differently or learn to deal with it. And my son is 2.5. Just potentially cutting bedtime short, like the variability of bedtime. Like if bedtime happens right on time, and 8:15 is like should be more than enough. And then also, how did it go? So like I have to very much presence myself because in whatever happens right before that, So, so yeah, no, that's true, but I don't think that has anything to do with what we're about to participate in. It's more, I have a pretty decent, I'm trying to like say something serious, but it's fine. We'll talk about my nip slip.
If you're looking for a good nip slip, Amanda,
Brian's
have
like,
I got the
serious
TikTok
question.
content for you?
Oh God. See, Brian's like, hang on, I have a serious question. We can't move on in the agenda. I have to ask you the serious question.
that,
Oh wait,
that
let
is
me
a
put
serious
this
one.
nip slip comment up there.
I think, well, Amanda's the one that said it.
You didn't have to put it up.
Well, sure I did.
Yeah, Brian has a obsession with TikTok snip slip videos. If anyone wants to see it later,
From a research point of view, you and I talked about this. So I do think that when Chelsea is on with me here, I have a high confidence level that Chelsea is having a good time because I can feel it, and I know because I'm getting her time way more than I'm like, oh my God, 3 hours. And I'm thinking I need to bail. And she's just like, yo, we're having fun. I just don't think you have a good time with this project when we're not on camera. That's all I'm gonna say. And that does kind of weigh on me in doing this with
you. It is much I try to say anything serious. That's what he does to me. Keeping it fun. It is much more about like everything else I have going on in my head at one time than it is about doing this. Like I'm good at being in moments of flow and creating them for myself. But when I'm outside of them, like my head is a wreck, which is often why I like watch dumb content and TV because it sucks me into the world and I can relax. So I don't know if it has as much to do with the show as it is as much to do with like everything feels, and it's just probably, hopefully it's the age of my son. Maybe it's just being a mom forever, but everything feels like a trade-off with being with my kid. And that sucks. Like even work right now is like a big conversation I have. I'm trying to quit a job and they won't let me. And I'm like, you're not worth the trade-off.
I know you have 1,000 things that you have going on.
Everyone does, but I don't think I'm more busy than most.
Well, I know, but my thing is if somebody isn't wanting, if I don't feel like the other person is like in it as much as I am, I don't think the project goes on.
You're like trying to convince me not to want to continue. We should get into the episodes.
We are. I'm just throwing that out there. And Amanda, if I do send that to you, it's going to mess up your algorithm because I sent it. It
didn't mess up mine. No, my algorithm's strong.
Oh well, it's nothing but nip slips and boobies now on my like actual.
Only if that's already what you follow.
It's not. They just keep feeding it to me. All right, let's go to the next thing here because we stay on time.
Okay, memory lane. Do you have people's votes from Instagram?
Well, if I had a production team like we were talking where there was 3 or 4 people, if you guys are here and you saw this, what was your favorite episode? Because we had people respond.
Yeah.
I just
give us in chat your favorite episode. I have to actually think about mine. I saw other people's chats. I think I actually answered one. I did. I answered one. I'm changing my answer. Should we do favorite and least favorite for fun, or should we just keep it positive?
Okay. Yeah, let's do our favorite, least favorite, and then if you guys are watching, put it in the comments too.
Okay. You want me to go first?
Sure.
All right. My favorite was a strong tie, but just ever so slightly. So I'm going to give my first favorite and my second because they were tight. First favorite was Digging Deeper. And I so wish that we could have gotten Castle back on the show. And like, I'm still so bummed because it was just very fun. Also, I don't know, it was like kind of a dice roll. I was like, I think she'll love to do this. I have no idea how it will go. And so that made it very fun. And the debrief episode of Digging Deeper was hilarious with Castle on the plane. Second favorite.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. The second favorite was Dirty Minds. Cause to me, that was kind of like a filler episode. Like we needed content. I knew it'd be easy. Mm-hmm. And then getting into it, it was like really fun. And I think went well. It helps that I won.
So it looks like everybody's kind of saying F,
they love
which is Dirty Minds. And then C, which one was C? This or that.
That was funny because your this or that's versus mine were so different.
They were different.
Yours, I just want I want to just see yours written down. They were so much. Deepest questions I think I've ever been asked.
And which one's D? I can't read my
Oh,
screen.
unwritten
what's
rules of Instagram.
Oh, yeah. See, I think that's where the variety stuff comes into play, because it kind of, everybody has something a little different, and each week we would hit something that's somebody else would have an interest in. I just don't think
Yeah.
it's too much to ask for one show to be interesting to the same person over and over again.
Yeah. What were your favorites?
I'm going to start with my least favorite one, and it was
No,
the one that
we
I looked
haven't done
forward
that
to.
yet.
Oh, God, see?
What is your favorite is the question on the table. I'm going to reject that question and answer my own.
I'm being serious here. I loved every single episode with the exception of the one that we're going to talk about, because there are moments within each one that I die laughing inside, and when I go back and edit it and I look at it over and over again, because when you edit and you look over the same shit again and again, it's supposed to just be like, oh my God, I'm so sick of hearing this. But I'm like, that was funny.
Do you have a favorite line that sticks in your head? Because I just thought of one. What's yours?
One that's just a classic that should just, how this didn't make us thousands of dollars on a bonus thing for Instagram or TikTok or something was, I think it was This or That.
I know.
Where it was
one?
Sex with an alien or a robot.
I know.
And I have thought about your answer or answers to so many of just that question, because your one comment about your fear of like an alien putting things in areas that don't fit has been etched in my head as just brilliant, funny content. And then the whole idea when you refer to your drawer of toys as your pleasure machines. And I'm like, I've never heard, I have friends that are very open about talking about so many different things. I've never heard anybody refer to them as pleasure machines.
It was not on purpose. I couldn't remember the right word. I just couldn't remember the word vibrator. It wasn't coming out.
But a pleasure machine, I mean, it sounds like a Sibian or something that you're dealing with.
That's just what came to me. I will say that also was my favorite part. Both in that what happened in the moment was funny. My brain just like stopped working.
And that
so
was
my funniest part of the whole season was me just being forgetful, which is great. But in addition to that, I reference this constantly now. Like I know Castle brought up on the what's a sandwich conundrum, which is one of my favorite conundrums. The new one that I'm just stuck with all the time is, would you rather have sex with an alien or robot? Like I bring it up all the time. Like, my friends are probably annoyed at me because I think it's such a good choice and it brings such interesting debate and dialogue. It's wonderful.
I'm not quite sure what this is referring to. But
it wasn't coming out. I couldn't. It's because I couldn't say the word. I also walking sexual innuendo. Like I just can't say it. I don't understand the puns, but I won Dirty Minds.
But just to this day, every day I change my mind between whether or not I would have sex with a robot or an alien, because I'll see something and I'm like, I would probably have sex with that if I could.
I will remember that forever. Allison, see, I'm really easy to make jokes about. It's what I like is that the moments where Allison and Brian, I think I'm the funniest, I'm not trying to be funny.
But that's just where it naturally comes out. And those are moments to where you just like, it's not fake. And I do have a big problem with, stuff like that with content in general. So that is kind of cool so there's moments like that. Is Love Blind? The story that Anna talked about. I mean, she's probably like, I wish I never mentioned that on a recording, because she's commented to me a couple times because she said that on my podcast and then she brought it up on our thing. And she's worried that she looks bad on that. And I'm like, you don't look bad. I was like, who looks bad is your friend who hooked you up with this person.
No, I don't think she looks bad. I do. I just appreciate the vulnerability. Yeah. I appreciate the
Yes.
realness. Totally.
And can you
Hey,
believe she's yet to confront her friend? Like she's still friends with this person who set her up, and they've never talked about it. She said, "I just asked her
oh.
this yesterday or the day
So
before."
that is shocking. Also, I think that that's your least favorite episode, which is funny because it also is like one of your strongest memories. Is that your least favorite episode?
No.
Oh, what's your least favorite episode?
Well, are we in that section? I would hate
Yes, we
to
can move
go
on. We can move
ahead,
on.
and we're at the 50-minute mark, so we're gonna have to get going.
Yeah, we'll not
I
dwell
think
on the
we're
least
ready. If there's
favorites.
anything that if that the next section. My least favorite was our why so serious,
Oh, same. Okay.
and that was one that I was
Obviously.
looking forward to in matching wits with you. Like I was mentally exercising leading up to that episode all season because I knew that was something that we were going to talk about. Kind of cancel culture as a whole. Is it real? Is it manufactured? And when people get canceled, is it all hypocritical? And then when they do, can we bring them back whenever? Or is it okay to? I was looking forward to doing that show.
Hmm.
And looking back and connecting the dots and everything, correct me if I'm wrong, you were never into that episode.
No.
I think you almost felt like you were not necessarily forced into doing it because you don't do something you don't want to do, but I think you just kind of gave in. You're like, fine, we'll just do that episode. But I could tell right off the bat from the get-go of that episode, you weren't into it.
No.
And so
Yeah.
it threw me completely off. That episode there was, for me, it might have been a good, like, I don't know from like a person watching it how it was. Hopefully it was somewhat entertaining somehow. But for me, from a host producing something, I thought it was kind of a disaster episode, to be honest with you.
I know. I should have. I definitely wasn't into it. So it's not that I wasn't into it. I wasn't sure. So it being live and recorded made it very hard for me to do authentically.
It wasn't the wigs.
Yeah, not because the wig. The wig was fine. The content felt challenging because of that. I also recognize that it's like not content I generally follow. So it was hard for me to speak to it without like a lot of information on it, especially in regards to like how I feel kind of about gossiping and like speaking about other people and their business. So that made it really hard for me too, like the individual examples, because I just don't know them. And then the like nightmare of what could happen on an episode like that happened, which I know technically shouldn't be a big deal, etc. But for me, like I avoid that as
You're
much as
dealing
possible.
with trolls, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and I
Some
do my
people may
best
not
to
have been there.
avoid
They don't
it.
know what you're talking about.
Oh yes, there was a troll. And I just do my best to avoid trolls. Like I understand and I agree that like, hey, if you're gonna get popular on the internet, you need to be comfortable with that. And I get it. And that sucks. And I hate that reality. But like I've just spent a lot of time trying to avoid that and done it very successfully. And so when that happened, my reason I didn't want to do the episode occurred live. So that just sucked.
And then from my perspective, the show wasn't going good anyways, and then it completely nosedived at some point towards the end. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? Because I can't read my screen, and it's hard for me to keep up with if I'm talking or trying to be a host. I forget about comments. Well, then all of a sudden Chelsea's going at it with somebody, and I'm like, what? And I'm trying to scroll, and my windows are like freezing. I'm like, who is she yelling at? Why are they arguing? And I'm trying to get into it. I don't want to interject because I'm like, well, Chelsea can handle herself. But then I could tell that just the vibe, like it went from just a bad episode to a disaster worse episode.
Yeah.
And I didn't like. I want to do over with that episode, not necessarily just like you and I doing it, because I'm not gonna approach that topic with you on a camera. But I find it fascinating and interesting from a discussion point where you're talking with somebody that has that can put together a thought process that's not so just triggered by one thing or another, and just like. Ugh. Like I generally want to have a good conversation about it. There's something there.
Yeah.
But that was just a terrible, terrible episode.
Well, it was the
And I was
opposite.
just
I was
like,
being triggered by the comments, so it was the opposite. It's like I'm trying to stay in the game. You're in the game, and I'm over here on the right, just feeling the anger rise. Like, I'm going to explode. What was great is you had no idea. Which, if y'all haven't watched last production episode, we debrief the whole thing, and we should save time for our fun grand finale here. But in that debrief, that was my fun takeaway from it, honestly. And I do think like my actual, now that we've debriefed it, which I've also loved debriefing because I think it allows you to kind of like move on from things that came up.
right.
And so my debrief, I actually walk away from that episode not as bothered by it as I was because of our debrief. And my actual takeaway is how hilarious if you just zoomed out to see Brian like in the game, in the episode, loving it, really trying to like keep it going and jive, and like clearly realizing that I'm not fully there. So like you were carrying, I'd say like 80% of the weight. And then I'm over here carrying 20, freaking out, about to start screaming at a troll in the comments, and you have no clue. And there's this moment where I yell at the troll, and Brian's face is like, what the fuck is going on?
There's a video clip we did that's posted, and you can see my eyes darting side to side, like I'm trying to catch my bearing as to okay, what I miss or what's going on. And then I could feel it in the force with Chelsea that it was just she was not in the mood to just continue. And then we were just like, the show's done. And then just so that you guys, like, Chelsea and I talked 15-20 minutes afterwards or whatever. So
Yeah.
So anyway, so there's that. So okay, so we've talked about our favorites, non-favorites.
Good
So
times.
you ready
I
for
think
the
we
next
only have
section,
one
or-
thing left to do.
You just
We
sent me
should bring up a
something.
banner
Hold on a second.
and remove this.
What does that mean?
Should bring up our banner, remind everyone the purpose of today's episode.
Oh.
Remove the photo. I'll do it.
See, I'm not very good at multitasking, so I'm
That's
kinda
okay.
glad
I can
she's
do it really
taking
quick.
charge.
So everyone, we have a special surprise. If you've stayed here this long and you're this big of a fan of Brian and Chelsea Make a Podcast, thank you and welcome to our final act.
Does our
In a podcast. Oh, can I go, Brian?
Yeah. We're just
Yes.
looking at your blank window listening.
In a podcast world where first impressions aren't everything, where Instagram strangers can live and create a 24-episode podcast season together. Now, Chelsea and Brian are about to discover if two strangers can choose each other and make a season 2. Did a Georgia peach who oversees, won't eat Taco Bell, and uses words like performative find her fairy tale podcast partner? Did a Missouri man who often has dead deer in his yard find his ideal boondoggler? Did this duet lead to the real thing, or is this podcast tearing them apart? Will their podcast get a second season? Will they ever find a theme? Join our podcast host for the most thrilling season finale ever, and also the first and maybe the last. The only thing you can expect is the unexpected. In a live special where anything can happen, Chelsea and Brian, and I am obviously your host for the night, Tipsy Castle, making a podcast season finale. Coming from my backyard, not a plane. But I'm here.
Last time we saw you, you were making friends with that old lady on the plane, I think. Have you actually talked to her since or no?
No, absolutely not. No, and I think I was coming from South Carolina. I don't even remember where I was coming from at the time.
Didn't you say like
But
she
it
was
was
into
from-
something freaky? Like she sells like
Nude boob mugs.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, maybe she makes slip a nipple TikToks too, but it's just like of her mugs. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Chelsea could add one of those to her drawer, which
Yeah.
God knows what else is in there.
I mean, it's a broad category, pleasure machines. You can never know.
So Castle, you are here for the final. You were here for the first one, the first episode.
Yep.
You're kind of like our Nick and I keep want to say Jessica, Nick and Vanessa.
Vanessa. You gotta
So
get
you're
it
kind
right.
of Nick and Vanessa rolled into one.
That was solid, by the way.
That was really good. And she took stuff current from like today.
Yeah. I was literally typing and doing some edits while you guys were doing your chat to the script I had written.
I was like crying. If only Brian hadn't interrupted you right at the start, but it's fine.
But now you can see why I didn't want to be on video. I was like, no, this needs to be like the trailer video montage because it's based off the season 4 finale episode trailer script.
The funny thing was,
Oh.
so we could see Castle the entire time. We just don't have her on the main screen. And so as I'm talking to Chelsea, we're having a good time for 50 minutes. Really, all I see is like just Castle drinking shit, like different cups and glasses. I'm like, oh my god, she's gonna be so shit faced.
I also ate an entire artichoke
She-
during your.
She looked like she was at Olive Garden or something, just kind of.
Wait,
I have.
we need more information on the
This
boob
is
mug.
the only one I haven't tried yet. Oh.
Yeah, can we get a
I have
boob
a
mug?
monkey
Do
mug.
you know how to get that information?
I will do my best to get a boob mug for you.
Can we get one the shape of Chelsea's that the Photoshop AI gave her?
Yes.
Yeah, I also just realized I have a boob mug.
Well, not from
Of
your,
course.
but we want it from your friend that you made on the plane.
Yeah,
That's the
that's
whole
better.
Yeah, I know, but like, why have I never used the boob mug? It's a really great question. I need to put that out on like our coffee mug thing.
Should have been using it
But-
now. Is that an arm mug? What is that mug? That's still it's a monkey. Okay.
It's a monkey, and its arm.
I am not the only
It's
one that
got-
was about ready to say something.
It's got sake in it from a local sake brewery.
Rad.
All right, so
Yeah.
for the
All right.
end of our episode here, I think we're turning things over to you.
Yes.
Buckle up, everybody.
So you two have a big decision tonight, and I think we're gonna start with asking the audience who they want to hear from first. But this is obviously a huge decision. I would say you're giving each other a rose, but that's obviously for the wrong, TV show. But
This is
you're choosing a potentially lifelong partner here, and it's a big decision. So
Chelsea and I are
give them some
standing
thought.
up on the altar. This is Love is
Yep.
Blind, and we're going to
Well-
say things left and right. So what do you want the viewers to do? What'd you say?
I would like the audience to vote on who they want to hear from first.
Okay.
Because I think this is really important, because this is kind of like rolling the dice of that second person maybe it'll change their mind based on what the first person says. So this is a big deal here.
Does everybody think that they know what our decisions are? Like,
Yes.
Castle, do you think you know?
Yes, I do.
You do? Because Chelsea told you, or what?
I've got gut instincts.
Just from listening the past hour, or what?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's just like this is what I do for a living. I read people. So
Danielle
yeah, I've
can't
got some
comment.
instincts here.
Everyone else. So Danielle, you can comment on this. Who do you want to answer first?
Amanda saying she wants to
okay.
hear from me first.
Interesting.
I will say, and I promise, if I go first or second, my answer is made up, and it's not.
Oh, wait, aren't all answers made up?
Well,
Good
I mean,
point.
it's not going to change based off of what Chelsea says, is what.
That is not what I thought you meant.
What'd you think
I was
meant?
like, I thought you meant like it's imaginary. It's fake.
Yeah.
I was like, that's not the point of
Performative,
this
Chelsea,
game.
Performative.
It's yeah,
Performative, yeah.
It's my performative piece.
Okay, well,
And
now
Brown-
everyone's
All
going
right,
to go
and Brian.
first because you sound crazy.
I'm gonna make the decision. Brian's going first.
And Brown has to answer from the heart, not based on what he thinks Chelsea might say. No, and I think, and Amanda, I think you know me and you know Chelsea enough that I think we would say what we think. So yeah, I'll go first. One, because I am anxious and kind of nervous about it. And here's why, in a sense that because of my issues that I have with friends in general, I am afraid, I am really afraid that I will not necessarily say something, but something will come out of this and Chelsea will take it the wrong way.
What's she going to say?
And it's not anything. We're being honest, and then we devote a lot of time to this project, and I think that I can already tell that I'm like getting anxious about it. I don't know. I
Well,
don't know
I'm
if I
here to
can go first.
moderate for you, Brian. We're in a space of respect,
All right.
and we're just going to suspend our right to be offended.
All right. So, Chelsea, you know that I've mentioned this several times this episode and all through the last 7-8 months or whatever. I respect you. I think we have a blast when we are together doing this stuff here. And now I'm getting visions of watching Love is Blind as they're standing up there holding each other's hands, and you're trying to be like, oh, what? Is he trying to throw us off or what? I'm 100%. I know that you have a fantastic time when you're here and the cameras are rolling. I am highly confident also that you don't necessarily enjoy when you're not on the camera. And for me, that does affect a little bit me wanting to do this more. I do think that I think we're more set up for doing individual shows, like one-off shows here and there, than we are a long-term series. So I think, no, I know. I think it's what's best for us is to take what we have set up here with the Brian and Chelsea Make a Podcast, our 24 episodes, and we say, this was fun. I think we learned a lot from it. And we leave it open to down the road if we wanted to do something else, to where one Friday night when you have nothing going on, we're just like, hey, let's do another TikTok live show or whatever. And I would love to do that. I just don't think that we're in the right time right now to do a long-term project together. So,
Brian, is there anything Chelsea could say to change your mind?
see, I mean, I can hear it in my voice.
Yeah, you
Like,
sound a little emotional.
I'm sad about this because I enjoy doing this. I just don't want to feel like I'm dragging somebody to have to do this with me. And when I say dragging,
So do you think you are sacrificing the show to help Chelsea? Or is this really what you truly want?
no, because I think I know I don't ever want to force somebody to do something with me. So I do know that she has a really good time when we're doing it. But that's only part of doing a long run show. And especially if we're gonna take this to the next step, to the next level, we're gonna have to organize more. We're gonna have to do a lot of things. Like I was saying, we need to package it better, to market it better, to kind of have a plan on doing that. I just don't, and I can't answer for her. I don't know what her life is like on a day-to-day basis. But I don't think that she is set up to do any of that right now. I think she is one off here, one off there. And I don't mean to be talking to you like you're not here, Chelsea. I know you're here. I'm actually trying not to even look at your part of the screen. I'm just looking at Castle because I don't think I can look at you.
I do think that this is usually why on shows they have like you both film separately first.
Yeah.
And then they like cut between the two and you're like, oh, what is the big buildup here?
And they
Now we're
shoot
watching Chelsea like react like on live to what you're saying.
Is that what they do, Castle? Where was the protection for me in that way? To have to listen to Brian. Can I go? Am I allowed to go? Because I'm ready.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I mean that's
I'm
so
just
that's
a
my
tipsy
answer.
host. Okay, Chelsea, you've got the floor.
I mean, it just sucks because this was like supposed to be fun with Castle here right now and like supposed to be silly. And I feel like Brian is just making a lot of assumptions about me and my life and like making choices for me like I'm a 5-year-old, and it's rude. So I don't like this, obviously. This is not fun for me. But I thought we were having a really good time. I don't know. It's uncomfortable.
Chelsea, would you have said yes to continuing the season?
I want to be wanted, you know? So apparently I'm super funny and like amazing to do podcasts
You know
with,
that's
but
not the
too
case.
intimidated to
Chelsea,
do a
you know
show
that's
with.
not the case.
I mean, it's what you said.
I acknowledge you and I have a good time when we're doing it. It's getting you here is I don't think that you're not set up with whatever you have going on in life right now. You don't have the time to do it.
So many assumptions.
And yeah, you're right. And I said that.
I agree with Castle's accusation. I think you're copping out. Like you're making an easy decision. And sorry, I know we're like live and that's uncomfortable, y'all, but it's my opinion.
Ryan, would you change your answer now? Knowing that maybe Chelsea's more committed than you thought?
I don't know what Chelsea's answer is. If it was outside, independent of what I said, if I didn't go first, what would Chelsea have said? I'm trying to be honest. We said that we were going to come together at the end of this and be honest, and we both have said before, right, that we're not going to do something that we don't want to do. And I'm not saying I don't want to do this. I love doing this, but I think we're at different stages of our lives to where I can devote a little more time to doing this on a weekly basis. And we have to put forth we have to just if we were going to do this, another show, I just don't think that you're set up to doing that. I'm assuming, yes, I get it, but what is your answer?
This is just like basic creationism theory, and I'll talk about stuff that makes me sound really smart. I can't have a different answer after already knowing. Like this answer now exists in the world. Like my answer is in response to yours because I went second.
I don't know.
I think we're both waiting to know what is the answer now that you've gone second.
I mean, obviously, I don't want to continue after I heard what Brian said. So,
but Chelsea, that's not the point. We're supposed to. So I went first, and I'm not like raising my voice. I'm not arguing with you or anything like that. And I was afraid that if we're not on the same page for this, I don't want it to affect anything going forward. But I'm just saying what I think would make for a successful second show, taking what we learned here to do something else again. I don't think that you're in a place in life to where you can do that right now with me.
I guess that is your opinion.
But that's not, Chelsea, that's not fair.
How is that not fair?
You're just reacting to what I said. You're not coming up with I don't know. You're not explaining yourself.
Brian doesn't even have words anymore. It's fine.
Well, I don't,
This is
because
just all this awkward turtle situations right now.
But that's what I'm saying. If I didn't go first, what would have been your response and your answer? And then once you can determine that, then that's fine. I'm still waiting to hear that part.
Genuinely, how would I have responded if I hadn't heard what you said? I mean, I think part of this, which I've always thought in watching even these shows, is like part of this is my response is going to be based on kind of what you're saying. Like it's a partnership. It's like a mutual agreement. So I don't believe in responding in a vacuum. Like I don't believe in that.
Responding in a vacuum, but then that's a response that you're acting like I didn't say. I went first, which I thought was the hardest part.
I'm just still sad because there was one episode I really always wanted to do, and it's not even in the vault. And we never got to practice it, and we talked about it a lot. And so I just assumed we would keep things going because we have some episodes, like our improv episode, that we never even snuck in there.
Castle, I don't think I'm here. I still don't think I'm getting an answer.
I'm hearing she wishes you had said yes and you wanted a second season.
You're picking up that you think that Chelsea said yes.
Yes. I'm picking up what she's putting down via an internet live chat. I guess that's a hard way to pick things up, but that's what I'm hearing. She would have done a second season. And you're a heartbreaker. You're literally a heartbreaker. Maybe you need a You're in My Carrie song.
I don't know what to say. Chelsea, end scene, I guess. I don't know.